Uh-oh, I'm frozen. Uh-oh, I'm frozen. As soon as I can see myself, I'll say something. I can't believe it's frozen. We'll have to record this, edit this part out. I've never had it freeze like this.
Wow.
Do you see it? Is it frozen for you too?
Mm-mm. I see you.
Okay, well, it is complete. Okay, there we go. I was like, I'm just like, okay. So, okay, we'll just start from here. All right.
Oh my gosh.
So for this session, we're going to be talking about just homeschool encouragement, and we brought along with us. We've got Frances Jones, who is a home-based education strategist and coach, and so she has lots of advice and encouragement for homeschoolers wherever you are along your journey.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Frances, and what you
Oh,
got for us to encourage us
thank you
today.
so much, Kim, for having me. Hello, everyone. As Kim said, I am your home-based education strategist and coach, and I am here to encourage you. We know that anytime, especially with a huge feat as far as homeschooling your child, support is something that you're going to need. You may not think that you need it, but there will be those days where they don't look as crisp and clean and precise as the Instagram pictures that we all see. It amazes me. Oh my gosh. I'm scrolling. I'm just, gosh, it's so pretty and it's just so perfect. And I'm like, where are you taking these photos? What filter are you using? Because my life does not look like that.
It,
And on those days are when you need it most. Those days that, your child wakes up just cranky, or you wake up cranky, or you have something that's going on. There's some mechanics needing to go on in the house or with the vehicle, and things, and life happens, and it
yep,
snowballs and it spills over into your homeschool day. We all need support. We all need, that extra bit of motivation, of encouragement to not throw the towel in during that moment, but to just step back,
yep,
breathe, and know that it's okay to do that. You have the space and the availability to do that, to step back and to breathe. So, just a few things to share that I actually share with my clients.
yep.
It's a
Everyone
very
thinks everyone thinks that it's perfect in someone else's house,
Everyone,
that
absolutely.
they
And
don't
and
have the
that's
problems. It's only my house
oh,
that things aren't going right. Everyone
listen,
thinks that.
everyone thinks that, and it's so far from the truth.
Mhm.
It's so far from what reality is. And while we know, social media has changed the game for a lot of different industries, anywhere from just personal to business. So it's a beautiful platform. But when you really kind of dig deep and uncover that little small thin layer of perfectionism, you
It's
know
it's the
y-
highlights reel.
it's the
It's
highlights.
we
That's
live in
all they're going to give you.
we live in the bloopers though.
Absolutely, we are in the bloopers. We're in the trenches of what really goes down before we can get to those pristine pictures. What did we have to go through to reach that point?
Mhm.
And it's during those times when we're just like, wait a minute, this is when I need support. This is when I need someone that understands
It's
what I'm going through, that can relate. They can not only give me sympathy, but also empathy
mhm,
in that moment, to be able to say, it's okay.
mhm.
Let's take it one day at a time.
Right.
So, just a few things. I like to call it my recipe, as I shared with Kim earlier. A recipe for success that I share with my clients all the time. And these four key points are just going to kind of help you during those moments. Right, when
Okay.
they happen, not if they happen, but when they
Okay.
happen,
Yes.
because that, Lord knows, they've happened to me. But the first one is simply to make certain that you have a clear vision of why you are homeschooling.
Mhm.
Whatever that reason is, it is your reason. No one can take it away from you. it's still your reason. It is your why. So making certain that you have a clear understanding, you're casting that vision, you're not comparing it to someone else's situation or circumstance. You're not even comparing your child or your children and what it is that they're going through and how they learn. You have a clear vision as far as what it is that you want your homeschool life to look like, as well as your family, because it is a family. It's a family deal. It's not an individual thing. It's not a you do this and you do this. Now, granted, of course, we do, even in my family, I take on the majority of, of that portion of it. But we all understand that this is a family journey that we are on. So making certain that the vision is clear so that you don't get so bogged down with, well, they're doing this and they're doing it that way. Well, that may not work for you. You have
Comparison is the thief of
comparison.
joy.
Oh my goodness, it is the thief of joy.
You will get
Right.
caught up in going,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And then when you do that, like you said, now you're so busy in someone else's homeschool till you've lost your vision and your goal and your why. So stay connected to your vision. That's the first one. Second one, be mindful of what you speak. If you know that your vision is clear, you now have to only speak it. You may not see it. Let's not get confused with what you're speaking versus what you're seeing, because that's the important. That's the whole point. You have to speak it until you see it. That's just bringing it into manifestation. So if I'm saying, okay, I know that one of our goals for the upcoming school year, I want my second grader to become a strong reader.
mhm,
Well, of course, you're going to tap into the natural things of knowing what to work on, but you're also going to continue to encourage them as well as yourself. You're such a strong reader. Not continuing to speak, oh, these are the things that we have to work on because you're not very strong in this area. So being mindful of what you're speaking and even how you're speaking those things are going to ultimately follow on with that vision. So that's number two. Once again, number one, cast that vision. The second one, make certain that you are speaking positively.
yet is
With,
the
yeah,
power of yet is a good thing too. When you
absolutely.
say we haven't got this yet,
Yes, that's it.
it's in process. We're working on it. We
That's
don't
exact
have it
and learning.
mastered, and that's okay.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
It's hard, and we're gonna get it. We're gonna keep working at this,
yes,
and we're gonna get it.
absolutely. And learning itself is a progressive, process. It is not something that you want to take on and say, okay, you should have this right now because we went over it. No,
No.
it's not, absolutely not. you know, and it's the same thing. I went through a leadership conference a few months ago, and the speaker mentioned something that has stuck with me since then. In this season, teachers are going to have to become the students, and students are going to have to become the teachers, which means that because we're fresh out of this pandemic, there have been so many different feelings and emotions and thoughts and everything else. So, as adults, we think that yes, we've been on this earth longer,
Mhm.
but there's still so many different things that we can learn from our children, especially during homeschool. So a lot of times I'm sitting back and I'm allowing her to teach me. I'm
Mhm.
allowing her to give me a different perspective on something that I may have known all this time, but now it makes me scratch my head, sit back and think, because we're shifting the roles. So
Right.
that's another part, and that's a part that's literally going right into number three, which is asking for help. Being able to ask for help, it doesn't necessarily have to come solely from another homeschool parent. Maybe it's coming from your student. Maybe it's coming from your child. Help me to know exactly how you need to be able to be taught. That's the number one thing. What is your learning style? How do you want your homeschool process to look? Because that's the first thing I do before I get on the computer and start working everything out. Is there anything that you need? that you want to go back over? Is there anything that you would like us to incorporate now that the world is opening back up? What field trips do you want to go on? What do you want to experience during this school year? Because this school year is different from last school year, and it's going to be different for school years to come. So asking for help from your child, from your spouse, from your community, from anyone that's giving you that support, that is going to be a game changer to ensure, once again, that your vision is going to be manifested, that you're able to continually speak that positivity, and that it also doesn't make you so cringeworthy when you need to ask for that help too.
Mm-hmm.
And then lastly, last thing, I'm a stickler for this, and I actually posted it just this morning. Be confident. And when I say be confident, I mean being confident in what you know and also what you don't know. It is okay to be confident in your weaknesses. And I know it sounds so weird to say that. It sounds so contradictory. But when you're able to say, you know what, I'm really strong in this area, but I also am confident enough to say I'm not strong in this area, which now makes it easier for you to ask for help in those areas that you know you're not strong in. I
Mm-hmm.
could go all day and say, you know what, I'm going to teach you math. That's not a strength of mine.
Mm-hmm.
But what that allows me now to do is to confidently ask for help from someone who has that strength. So now it's not a prideful thing that I'm keeping from my child for her to be able to learn in a way that is conducive to her learning style. So those are the 4 steps: cast your vision, speaking positively, asking for help, and then, of course, being confident.
Yeah.
That's it.
Very good. Very good recipe. I love that. Uh,
Yay!
I was going to piggyback on one of your points too. I hear a
Yeah.
lot of homeschool moms use the word just. We just picked apples today. We just
Mm,
like I think it's a tendency for us to downplay some of what we have done
right.
and not even recognize the all that is going on in that.
Absolutely.
I don't know if it's just because we're women or caregivers
Yeah.
or we're not professionals or I mean
Right.
whatever it is, we feel like somehow we're, you know,
Yeah.
not as equipped as anybody else. So
Right.
that
And it's almost like
confidence
it's not enough. Like
that right, that
it's
confidence that's in there is
right.
it's in
Yeah.
there. You know
It's
your
there.
child better than anyone else. You're
Anyone
the
else?
expert on your child.
Yes.
And so, yeah, trying to sit there and say somebody else's, materials, this expert has said this is the course of study that we're supposed
Right.
to follow. And
Right.
so then you're like, well, we didn't do that. We just did this instead.
Right. And
I
that's
try
enough.
if we can try to get that just out of our vocabulary, I think it would
Right.
elevate homeschooling a little bit too.
Right, exactly. You know what? And for some strange reason, I don't know why, but a few months ago, we watched Old Yeller. I grew up watching Old Yeller, and I fell in love with the story, and I showed my daughter this, and for some reason, every time I think about, like you said, that just how complex it's really gotten. I go back to that visual of, I can't remember his name, but how the little boy grew up. He grew up learning the land. He grew up just, frolicking and go, but he learned.
Hmm.
So I think it's really an injustice when we do that to ourselves, when we downplay, like you said, and we're using that term. We just did this today.
Hmm.
Well, did you ever stop and ask your child what they learned from that just?
Yeah.
Because it may be a thing where if they could be in a classroom and they would never learn what they learned during that moment. And it may have been something that they needed a whole lot more than sitting and studying in a curriculum.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Just understanding, like I said before, tapping into that vision and knowing exactly what it is that your goal is.
Right.
That's going to help.
It does. And I think we get like that, that competition mindset
Mhm.
in there too. There's the kid in co-op that read, War and Peace 3 times this summer, and you're like,
Yeah,
we forgot our alphabet.
it's okay. It's okay. Right?
It's like,
Right. It's
not sure.
okay.
I'm not sure that and it's like,
Right. And it's
right.
not a race. And I
It's not
think
a
it's
race. That's right.
so competitive. And
Hmm.
if we're not careful, it can because we already know that these grade levels and they grow so fast. And they're going to be out of the house before we know it. So we've got to be careful even still with what it is we're teaching. You may not be teaching them. You may be teaching them just, oh,
Hmm.
we went strawberry picking.
Right.
But what are you telling them? Are you saying, oh, we just did this today? Is that to
Right.
make them feel as if they're not doing enough?
Right.
So
But if
once again, yeah,
but if it fits into your why, and your why is
there you
about
go.
creating family experiences
There
and
you go.
simplifying your life and enjoying
Yes.
it, taking the scenic route and enjoying the
There you go.
journey rather than trying to race through
There
all
you
these
go.
things. Like you go, it all cycles back. Your whole recipe ends
Right.
up in this baked thing that
Yes. Absolutely.
that you
Absolutely.
you
And
figured
it's
out. You've got the confidence, and
right.
your why. It all builds on itself, and
It
it
all builds on itself. Yeah, it
Mhm.
does. And and I get it. It can be difficult. It can be difficult when you're in the thick of it, and especially for those who started out maybe in another educational, platform and then transition, so they feel like they now have to keep up.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Now they have to keep up. But it's okay.
Right.
Because once again, now you start. What is your vision? Why did you transition out? So once you know your why, stick
Hmm.
with that.
Stick with
And
it.
now just take it day by day and give yourself the grace to know
Right.
everything that I'm doing is purposeful.
Yes. And we still have troubles, and you find
Absolutely.
support and ask people, "Hey, this isn't working for me. What do
Yeah.
what do you know about this?" And then you find
Right.
people to connect on that kind of a level to say, "I get it. I understand what you're doing." You have to find those
Yes.
safe places to be able to share that
Absolutely.
kind of stuff. Somebody that can mentor
Absolutely.
you and help you along the way too.
Absolutely.
So for those that are watching and don't have that, Francis does offer that as a service. Would you tell us a little bit more about what kind of services you offer and
Sure.
how
Absolutely.
to get connected to you?
Absolutely. Yes. Well, I am obviously on Facebook as well as Instagram at Homeschool Happiness. That's happiness with a Y and not an I. You can find me there. And then also just visit the website, thefrancisjones.com. I do offer coaching services, based on what it is that you need. If it's something that you need that's a little bit more in depth, long time, whatever it is that you need, I just want to make certain that you're getting the support. So that you're successful at what it is that you're doing. And I also just started recently the whole homeschool happiness private Facebook group, and it is literally for support. We're just encouraging one another, supporting one another. It is not a big group. You don't have to feel overwhelmed. If you have a question, ask the question. I always tell my clients, listen, if I don't know, I have no problem asking questions. That's number two. I ask questions,
Me too.
Absolutely. I do not have a problem. So it's all about support. It's all about inspiring and motivating, encouraging parents and families too. And even if you're not homeschooling, we did a hybrid of schooling from home as well as public school. So even if it's just a thing of schooling from home that you want to give a little bit extra support, absolutely, that's something else that I'd be more than happy to help with as well.
I always say there's 180 school days, the compulsory school days in the year, but there's 185 other learning days. So
Absolutely.
in my opinion, everyone's a part-time homeschooler. It's
They
just
are, and they don't even realize it.
right,
They don't
right.
even
It's
realize it.
part of
Yeah,
it. Yeah, because you're trying to do all of those things in,
absolutely.
adding that,
Yes,
personal touch and getting your kids where they want to go and advocating for them in that kind
right.
of way. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing
Thank you,
your
Kim.
recipe for success for us to
Yes.
encourage homeschoolers and look forward to talking to you more and seeing everybody into the next session. So
Sounds
thanks.
great.